This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Leagues Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and this is the Gameday preview podcast of the Eels versus the Dolphins. Now, I was unable to get a Dolphins fan on the podcast, so it is just me, unfortunately, hoping to get some Newcastle legends onto the podcast soon for the next game, but this is round number 10, and the Eels are back at home at Commbank Stadium. The first time that the Eels have hosted the Dolphins at Commbank Stadium. They've only played 2 times previously. This is their third occasion meeting, and it's one apiece at the moment. And look, as we go through I should say, some stats, we'll start off with the results, the 2 games, first of all, that these 2 sides have played. And the first time they played was obviously in 2023 when the Dolphins arrived into the competition, and that was played up at the Sunshine Coast. And I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be at that game, which was a great day to be there, especially as a Parramatta Eels fan, because the Eels got a win 48 points to 20 on that occasion. However, the Dolphins, they turned it around last season in 2024 against Parramatta up there in Darwin for a 44 points to 16 win on that occasion. And I guess that was probably one of the games that Trey Fuller, little fullback there, made a name for himself in that game. And it was actually a game that Christian Wolf, the current Dolphins coach, he was the coach on that day after Wayne Bennett couldn't travel to Darwin due to illness. So I think he may have called in pre-game or something like that, but Christian was the coach on the day, and it was a win to the Dolphins, 44 points to 16, as I mentioned before. Now, the couple of the stats coming out of the Eels and Dolphins, as I said, 2 games so far. And you know what? The unbelievable stat is that both sides have scored 64 points. So that is unbelievable that they've scored 64 points each. So only the one game at the Dolphins home game, and as I said, that was 48 points to 20, and the Parramatta Eels home game was in Darwin, but we won't talk about that one too much. But this is, as I said, the first time that these 2 sides have played at Commbank Stadium. Now, if we just go to a few of the other stats between these 2 sides, there's not really many, to be honest, but the biggest winning margin is both 28 points by both sides. Most points scored in the match, 48 to Parramatta, 44 to the Dolphins. If we look at players, most points scored in a match, Mitchell Moses, 16 points. That was in 2023. Jack Bostock, the winger from the Dolphins, 12 points, 3 tries up there in Darwin. And also he leads the most tries scored in a match between these 2 sides. And Mitchell Moses, 8 goals, is the greatest goal kicker between these 2 sides, kicking 8 goals in that Sunshine Coast game. So, look, enough of that one. Let's go to, or enough of the history. The only player that I can think of that has played for both teams is Ray Stone. Now, famous Ray, you could say, that win down in Melbourne in 2022 where he crossed for that try right at the death. I think it was golden point by memory, and did his knee. Won the game for Parramatta, did his knee. I think it was like round 2 or 3 or something like that. It was really early on in the season. So unfortunately for Ray, he missed the grand final, and then he was off to the Redcliffe. Well, they don't call them Redcliffe, but they should call them Redcliffe. The Dolphins. He went to them in 2023. So, look, I'd love Ray to come back to Parramatta. He's one of those players. He's tough, does his tackles, does his runs, tough player. But look, I'm happy for Ray to get up to the Dolphins because it now means that he's playing consistent football. He's starting sometimes, bench sometimes. So something that at Parramatta he was unable to do. I didn't think he would come off the bench here and there, but not very many starting games. So I thought that was a good move for him and his family, and apparently he's loving it up there. I know some people who talk to him, and he's loving up there at Redcliffe. So he is the only player I can think of that has played for both sides. If there's anyone else you can think of, let me know. But good old Ray Stone. All right, to these two sides, and as I said, they've played twice, one win each. Currently, this season, the Eels have 2 wins and 1 bye, so sit on 6 points. The Dolphins, they have the same, 3 wins for 6 points and sit in 14th position. The Eels, unfortunately, in 17th position, but hoping to get up there on the ladder a bit further anyway. Hate being last. Why did the Panthers have to win against the Broncos last week? They could have stayed in last position. But anyway, it is what it is. Look, both these sides on 6 points, as I mentioned. 8th spot is on West Tigers. They're on 10 points. So, look, it is a very crucial game for both of these sides because they need to get closer to that top 8. A few of these sides, the Cowboys are in 9th. They've got 10 points. They've had 1 bye. The Tigers haven't had a bye yet. So, and a few of these top sides haven't had a bye either. So obviously a bye is 2 points. So now this game is very crucial for both teams to get the victory and get those 2 points, and maybe that will give them confidence and go. That will mean that they can slowly go up the ladder and try and make a run for the top 8. But again, going to this game for team stats. Now, the Dolphins have scored 218 points, the Eels 135. Defence is where the problem is for both sides currently in this season. The Eels have let in 40 more points than the Dolphins. Completion rates are pretty much the same, 77% for the Eels, 76% for the Dolphins. So, look, I think that they are some team stats there. Completion rates are okay, but it's the points conceded for both teams that are a problem, and I think that will continue on this weekend with, I think it could be a pretty sort of high scoring-ish sort of game. We'll just have to wait and see. It is Thursday night at Commbank Stadium. It should be reasonable weather. Top of 19 degrees, but by the time kickoff comes around, it will probably be about 12, 13, 14 degrees. So, look, it's going to be a chilly night at Commbank Stadium, so if you are going, I thoroughly recommend to rug up. So, no chance of rain, so now that I've said that, it probably will. I hope it doesn't, because I will be there among others as well. Thursday night, 6pm is 8pm is or 7:50pm. I should get it right, shouldn't I? I know that was 7:50pm. That is a pretty hard sell for a game, especially with an interstate team, I think. Parramatta not so much, but an interstate team just depends on who they're playing to get a crowd. So, look, I think it could be low, just over 10,000-ish, maybe 12,000 there. Just depends on how much of the Dolphins fans turn up. But they're not a team that you could hate. I guess they're sort of probably everyone's second team, and if unless of course you don't follow. If you do follow them, they're your first side. But it could be people's second side. I don't mind the Dolphins; they're okay. There are other teams out there, as you probably know, that I dislike, but the Dolphins, they're all right. I'm pretty excited to see the Hammer in action as well. So the key for Parramatta, keep Hammer quiet, Herbie Farmworth in the centres as well. But look, to the team list, and for Parramatta, there's only the one change, or you could say two changes. Sam Tuivasa, unfortunately, is out of this side until about round 19-20 with an ankle injury, which is very unfortunate because I think he was going pretty good in the games that he has played this season, has made an impact coming off the bench. So that is pretty disappointing news from a Parramatta fan's perspective. But that just means Matt Dury, who didn't play last week against the Cronulla Sharks up there in Magic Round in Brisbane, goes onto the interchange bench in jumper number 17, which was Sam's jersey, and Jordan Sam Rani comes onto the bench as well. He was a late inclusion into the side that played against the Cronulla Sharks, and again, I thought he had pretty good minutes. For the minutes that he played in that game, I thought he made a real impact. Next time he plays the Sharks, he will definitely be keeping an eye out for Ronaldo Mulitalo. That is for sure, because he absolutely folded him. To his credit, he got up. Mind you, it was slowly, but can't blame him. I wouldn't have wanted to be hit like that. Did play the ball and did play on, so he was all smiles after the game too. So, look, I like the look of this fella. I think most notably he's an outside back, but maybe there could be a transition into that second row position for Jordan, because he does definitely have the size. He is young, he still needs to fill out as well. So I think you could find that second row could be his position. He's only 23 years old, 102 kilos. I think he could be a back rower moving forward, but definitely has the speed as well to play in the backs, which is a good thing. So only the couple changes there, and I think that's a good thing to have consistency in your team. Obviously, if you can put the same team week in, week out in this competition, it is a good thing, because then your connection with the other players as well, especially in plays, is better. You know each other's play, and you don't want players chopping and changing all the time due to injury or suspension, because then those relationships that you build up with your fellow players in different positions, it all goes. So you're sort of back to square one. So very important. I think with Mitchell Moses back now, this will be his third game back. Dylan Brown has been released, sort of thing, and he's playing what we know Dylan Brown can do, and obviously that is a good thing there. I think the halves of Parramatta probably they are definitely a better combination than the Dolphins halves. However, in saying that, Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins halfback, he is a pretty good young prospect and has huge raps on him looking into the future. He's only 21 years old, and he's had a couple of seasons in the NRL now. He's came through the Penrith system through under Nathan Cleary, but he is slowly making a mark in this NRL as one fine player. So has huge raps on him. So he will definitely still be one to watch for the Eels. The Dolphins have a few changes in their side, But they do get Felice Kafusi back from a knee injury. Kurt Donahue as well, ankle, back on deck. Mark Nichols, fan favourite, that is for sure. Goes back to the bench. Oren Keeley drops to the reserves. Jeremy Marshall-King, who absolutely carved Parramatta up in Darwin, especially in the middle, will miss this game due to complications related to a cut received earlier this year. So disappointing for him to miss out on this game, but good for Parramatta, I guess. As I said, he was pretty instrumental in that win last year, along with Trey Fuller. So, look, from my perspective, a Parramatta's perspective, the players to watch are obviously the Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, back there at fullback. Our Parramatta's kick chase will have to be on song, not a staggered line, because we know that if Hammer makes a break, it can lead to a couple of missed tackles and then a length of the field try from a kick. So we know how dangerous he can be. Herbie Farnworth, as I mentioned, in the centres there, he is a threat out wide as well. Jake Averillo, he loves playing against Parramatta. He's scored many a try against Parramatta, both for the Bulldogs and also the Dolphins. Ray Stone off the bench as well. As I mentioned in the sort of intro or the start of this podcast, just love his energy on the when he comes on off the bench. So there's a couple of players that I think it's going to be an interesting forward battle. I think the forwards always win your matches. I guess they give the backs the room to do their thing, score the points. But if your forwards aren't going forward, then you're not going to go anywhere in this competition. But Riley Smith, he will start again. Jermaine Hopgood at lock. He did play a little bit of dummy half against the Sharks as well. Had limited, I guess you could say, minutes as well, which is not Jermaine Hopgood-like. Something he will have to work on, I guess. Junior Paolo, he played a pretty good game against the Sharks last week. Some offloads, which the offload game from Parramatta, it was back last week in patches, and you could see that it led to tries, which was a really good thing for Parramatta. They looked like they were coming back in the end. They got back to 22-18, but then couldn't get the win. So then you got Riley Smith there at hooker, 57 tackles last week. He's just a tackling machine. Isaiah Iongi as well, 200 metres. So I guess like the Hammer, Isaiah Iongi, he can make a break from fullback as well. We saw that last week, but he is a star of the future as well again. A lot of people question, obviously, when Gutho left, who was going to replace him, and I think Parramatta fans anyway are probably happy with the way that Isaiah Iongi is coming along. The forwards last week, Jermaine Hopgood only 36 minutes. Charlie Geimer, who 58 minutes. Junior, 61 minutes. Riley, 72. Jack Williams, 59. Cortoga, 80 minutes in the second row. That is a huge effort. Yeah, that is a huge effort, along with... But only the run meters for the Parramatta Eels forwards, I think you need a couple more, over 100, a little bit more as well. I've been watching the Broncos. I watch a lot of rugby league games, and I've seen someone like Pat Carrigan, who is obviously a little bit younger than some of these Parramatta forwards, but he's getting involved 2, sometimes 3 times in a set. He always seems to pop up. But look, they're obviously playing a different style of football than other teams, but I just think those run meters just really need to get up. I mean, you obviously don't want to be tackling that much. Junior, 44 tackles. That's a huge effort, that is. Jermaine, 24. Kit Kat, as we say, 31, Charlie Geimer 34. A huge effort, 57 tackles from Riley Smith. Unfortunately missed 6 tackles, which he won't be too happy about. But look, other than that, I think if as I said, the forwards don't go forward, they won't get the victory. Parramatta. Referee for this game is Wyatt Raymond. Casey Badger is the touch judge. Chris Butler is the senior review official. Ziggy Preslaxa Adamski. I think I've said that properly, hopefully. I'll just call him Ziggy. Is the other touch judge there. So, look, played at Commbank Stadium. As I said, the Eels back at home. Look, they are a better side back at home. They got the win against the Tigers, even though they were the away side. They do go into this game as favourites against the Dolphins. Only slight favourites at the moment, and that's probably due to the home ground advantage, I guess you could say. So, look, Thursday, 8th of May, 7:50pm. If you are going out there and you are a Parramatta fan, let's be loud. Let's let the boys know that we are there to support them. Obviously we're going to outnumber the Dolphins fans, but let's be louder than them as well. So show your support. Led by the Swarm Active Bay. So whenever they start going, you start going as well. So they do a fantastic job, the Swarm Bay, so in active chance and the like. So when they make some noise, you make some noise as well. And let's try and make this a fortress home. And look, I'm pretty confident we can get the win on Thursday night. Now, in terms of predictions, what am I going to predict? I don't know. I'm going to predict something really early out here. I am going to say, look, I'm going to go back to my old mate, Will Penasini. He's been quite, I guess you could say by his standards, quiet this season. He has missed some tackles, hasn't scored as many tries as what he would like and what the fans would like. Definitely not the first try that I think he scores every week, but I'm going to go back to him and score the first try this week. And look, I think the key to Parramatta winning is also getting off to that good start. Just getting off to that good start and maintaining that and limiting the penalties, limiting the 6 agains, and just not getting the Dolphins into attacking areas. So I think that the discipline is the thing, and the errors as well. If they can cut the errors out, then that will be a good thing, obviously, as well. So we'll not be giving the Dolphins the ball as much. So key to that is discipline. So if they can do that, they'll go a long way to winning the game. So look, I am going to say the score will be, I think they could put a score on. I think it could be at least 32 points. I think both of these sides are capable of scoring a lot of points, but I'm going to say 32. I'm going to say 32-18, and I'm going to say, as I said before, Will Penasini first try scorer. Now, a bold prediction. What could be a bold prediction? I am going to say a bold prediction will be the 1-3-5 and I think 7. There you go. 1, 3, 5 and 7 will score tries. There you go. Isaiah Iongi, Will Penasini, Josh Adokar and Mitchell Moses. I think they'll get tries. How's that? Let me know what your bold prediction is in this game. See how bold you can be. Maybe it could be one of the forwards running over 150 metres. Who knows? That could be another bold prediction. But look, it should be a good game. One apiece. Can Parramatta get the upper hand and be leading 2-1. It's a crucial game going into the season ahead, especially. And as I mentioned before, look, now is the time. I don't think it's panic stations, but you definitely want to win your home games, that is for sure. And this is one of them against the Dolphins, and then the next week against Newcastle, and then another home game against Manly, and then, well, you could say it's a home game, even though it's a Panthers home game because they're playing out of Commbank. So, a game against the Panthers, and then the King's birthday game against the Bulldogs, the high-flying Bulldogs, and then a bye. Now, this period here from round, I guess you could say, 14, when we play the Bulldogs at a core stadium, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that is a really crucial period. I know I'm getting ahead of myself with this draw, but that is a really crucial period. Play the first place Bulldogs on the King's birthday, then a bye, Gold Coast at home, Dragons at Wollongong, and then another bye, then the Panthers as the home team. So that is a crucial period there, I think. So 5 games there, or three games there, and 10 points on offer, including the bye. So a really crucial period, that is for sure. Look, anyway, thank you very much for listening to this game day preview of Eels versus Dolphins. I hope to see you out there at Commbank Stadium. If you are going, come and say g'day. We'll have a chat about Parramatta, and it's always great to catch up with listeners of the podcast. So if you're out there, don't be shy. Come and say g'day, and let's go Para. The Para Cave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.